Last week I gave a little program about this boy that came up to my front door, and this goes back about 4 or 5 years ago when it was, and he was going to sell me some encyclopedias. He did a real good job, and then after he got through with his presentation, I told him, well, they hadn't made those propositions a long time, about 4 or 5 years ago. They quit making them. Anyway, I said, how'd you get into this business? He said, well, my daddy, he was in it for 16, 17 years. He was zone manager for Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. And he said, that's how I happened to get into it. I said, well, he must have been a smart man. Well, he was smart, but getting one way, and the other way, he wasn't very smart. Well, I said, well, how'd he do? And, was he going out, and how'd he recruit? He said, well, I'll tell you a story he told me. He said he'd run an ad like in the Miami Herald. Let's use the Miami Herald for an example. He was going to recruit in Miami. He'd run an ad for about a week, and he'd have a hotel suite rented. And then those people would come up there, and he'd have them all lined up. This goes back in the 70s. He'd have them lined up outside, and he had a guy that helped him. He'd go out and hand them a program and make them fill out an application. But he would get them in there, and he'd start talking to them, and he'd say, well, now, we co-sponsor some of the TV programs here, like Art Linkletter's House Party, Let's Make a Deal, Let's Face It, and all these programs that they used to sponsor. And they'd say, what kind of work is this? He said, well, this is educational program, and I'm going to show you what it is. I had all those guys, he had all those guys lined up in there, about 15 of them, he told me. So anyway, he laid out the program there. He showed them a nice brochure of the Americana Encyclopedia, the Book of Knowledge, the Lands and Peoples, and the Science, and then a program where you write off. And they said, all this right here is what you get it for $39.95 a year. For 10 years, that'd be $350. But the company wants to take care of it in a more business-like manner, like $10 to $12 a month. And they said, that sounds pretty good. And he said, now, I told you earlier that we guarantee you $200 a week. There's a stipulation on that, of course. You may want to go to a movie, something, go out with your girlfriend and use any kind of excuse not to work because this is knocking on doors. Oh, knocking on doors. Yeah, well, we give you leads, though. You can work leads anywhere you want to. Leeds, Alabama, for an example. But what we do, we ask you to get that $200, we ask you to give 18 presentations a week. That's not many because it takes you about a half an hour to give a nice presentation. You make 3 or 4 of those a night. The average sale is 1 out of every 3. And of course, when you make $100 a sale, you can see right off that you're going to make more than $200 a week by just selling 3 or 4 sets. So it's up to you. You can do anything you want to do, but that's how we pay. But it's a good program. We teach you how to do it. The only thing we asked you to do is spend 3 or 4 days in here training. A lot of people would come in here and just want to train and sit back and not to do anything, and so just to get that money. So we asked you to spend that 3 days of your own time without pay, and then after that, then you'll get completely paid. You can do it either way. You can take the salary or you can take the commission. Most people, of course, they take the commission. They make more money that way. So after I explained all this, now everybody's got their application in, and I've got a young man here that he runs all these applications and find out, if there's any bad people in the crowd, which normally you'll have 1 or 2. Not saying anything about you boys, but anyway, as it goes, we run a complete application on you and see if it's been in jail or drugs or this and that and the other. So it's going to take us we run it in about 24 hours. So if you don't get a wire from us by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, that means that you're hired. And so if you didn't get a wire from us, we want you to come back in here tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock just to start a little bit of your training. So, as it goes, some of you are going to wonder why you didn't get a wire and check, but we double check everything, and we're sure that we're completely right. But anyway, that's how that boy, that's how he told me that they did their recruiting. And normally, the people would come back in there, they'd look around and say, gee whiz, I don't know what happened to that guy. He must have been a bad guy, this and that and the other guy. So normally out of 15, you'll normally get about, maybe you'll get about 4 or 5 people back. Then we start their training, and then after 2 or 3 days of training, they can see right off they're going to make more money on a commission. So the story of it is that, you know, that you got to get them in, you got to train them, and then you'll make great salespeople out of them. Anybody that can knock on doors, talk to people, they'll end up doing very well in their life. Even though, of course, you know, we found out only 2 out of every 100 that we hire in a year is only staying with them. So we hire completely every week in every zone. And I just want to say this, that boy, he was a real good salesman. And I've got my little granddaughter here taking this picture. She's runner-up for Miss Alabama. But I want to say thank you. Hope you enjoy this video. Bye.